Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's Monday and 6 p.m. You are listening to your very own talk show, Nostalgic with Sadiq, and I'm your favorite host, DJ Sadiq. Today is the final episode of your favorite talk show, Nostalgic with Sadiq. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a wonderful experience traveling with you over 10 episodes and meeting wonderful people. There were moments of laughter and tears. There were moments of excitement, and that is what Nostalgic with Sadiq is all about. And to pay tribute to those golden days of our childhood, we generally invite some wonderful people to come to our show and talk about their experiences. And today is not an exception. Today also we have a wonderful couple who have been kind enough to come to our show and were ready to share their experiences. Well, if I start talking about them, it sounds like a dream for a girl. Well, a girl's dream is that he imagines that he's going to meet his man on the very first day of his office, and that's what happened to one of our guests today. And when he met, there was magic, and the magic went on for 22 years and many more years to go. Ladies and gentlemen, our guests of honor tonight are Richard and Marcia. Richard and Marcia, welcome to Nostalgic with Sadiq.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Alright, there's a tradition in Nostalgic with Sadiq that we generally welcome our guests with a little gift. So this is for you.
Oh, sweet.
Okay. Richard and Marcia, it's like been 22 long years. 22 long years of togetherness. How has the journey been so far?
Well, I think fantastic. And I don't think I'd say 22 long years.
Okay.
It's been 22 years, but they don't seem long.
Yeah.
It really almost seems like yesterday.
Yeah, but for the young generation, it's great. It's great. I mean, like, we all look up to you, like, for inspiration, don't we?
I hope so.
Well, we hope we're providing that example.
Exactly. And so, how has the journey been so far? I mean, were there tough times and were there difficult times, or has it always been a smooth sail for both of you?
It's been good, really, the whole time. We're very much connected to one another, like soulmates. He can anticipate what I'm thinking. Sometimes we almost know exactly what the other person's going to say. So it's been great. And
that always comes from being together for a long time and also understanding each other, I presume.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And you perfectly understand each other, don't you?
I think so. I think, we're probably one of the unusual ones in that almost from the very time we met, well, certainly once we started dating, we've been together 24 hours a day. I mean, our offices were right next to each other here at the university, and so we're always together.
And you're still together, and that's wonderful. And
yes.
And I just pray to God that you always stay together and have a wonderful time.
Thank you.
But Richard, today we are not going to talk about the present times, but we'll take a flashback and go back to the wonderful days of your childhood.
All right.
All right, Richard, you lived in Amarillo, and that is where you grew up.
That's correct.
And so, how were the initial days of your life, growing up in a small...
Well, it was a small town USA,
small
basically.
Town.
We moved to Amarillo and basically at first lived with my grandparents out on their ranch, and then later moved into town.
Okay.
So it was very quiet, and it didn't have the hustle bustle that you do now.
Okay. So it was like a typical Hollywood movie.
Well, I mean, nobody was walking around with 6-shooters or anything, but no, it was again, yes, the small town USA.
Okay, so but I still believe that small town USA still had the excitements, didn't it?
Oh, you kind of make your own excitements. I mean, obviously, we didn't have computers. We didn't even have really transistor radios when I was young.
So how did you make your life interesting in a small town?
Well, I mean, as a young boy, of course, just playing with the neighbors and playing in the neighborhoods, and we lived real close to what became the very first big shopping center in Amarillo.
Oh.
So, of course, we'd always go run up there and run around the mall and stuff, and it was it'd be cool in the summer or warm in the winter. And kind of like kids go to the mall now. We did it back then too.
Oh, really? So you were very advanced in that.
Yes.
Okay, and now Marcia, you were born in El Paso.
Yes.
And how was life during that time? I mean, like growing up in El Paso before you finally moved on to Texas. How was life there in El Paso initial days?
It was a wonderful place to grow up, even though it was a big city. I mean, it was a lot bigger than even Amarillo, and we had freeways sooner probably than they did. So, but I grew up in the lower valley, which was still a lot of cotton farmers. So I got to be in what would have been a small town situation, but yet it was a big city. So it was wonderful.
Yeah. So, well, talking about childhood, family plays such an important role in all our lives. I mean, we get so much from our parents and our brothers and sisters. Richard, tell us something about your family, about your parents, about your brothers and sisters.
Well, when we first came to Amarillo, really, my parents had just gotten a divorce, but actually we came out there at the request of my father's parents, which was unusual, but we did, and that's when we lived with them at first. And it was just my mother, my brother, and I.
Okay.
And I was 5 years old when we came to Amarillo. My brother was 12.
Okay.
And so we just kind of went from there.
And how was it growing up with your brothers and sisters?
Well, my brother was 7 years older than I was, so he was out of the house a lot sooner. So I felt like I was really an only child for most of my life.
Okay. But how was your relationship with your brother?
Oh, it was good. Close? Yeah, really close, reasonably close, yes. But again, being that far difference, obviously his friends. I mean, you know, I'm riding a bike when he's out driving cars and things like that. So it's different in that way.
Okay, but did you have sibling rivalries?
Not really.
He was.
He was just too much older,
much older. But the respect and love was very much there.
Oh, I think so, yes.
Mash, tell us about your family. How was your family and growing up with your family?
Well, there was an older sister, and then it was me, and then a younger sister who was really closer to me in age. So we played together more than with my older sister. And then I had a brother that was 7 years younger. So he kind of came later on when we weren't expecting another baby. It was great. I mean, I had a wonderful time with my younger sister because we didn't have computers. We didn't even have board games really. My sister and I played with our dolls or outdoors. We took lawn chairs and we made little huts, and we would pretend we were on a ranch or a farm and ride horses on broomsticks and swings. We were always on the swings, always. It was wonderful. It was the best time of my life.
Really. And that's what Nostalgic with Sadiq is all about. It's about recollecting those wonderful days of our childhood and being together and getting close to each other and sharing those wonderful moments. Richard, now Nostalgic with Sadiq is also a celebration of those wonderful friendships that we had in our childhood. Can you tell us something about your friends and the group of friends that you had? How was life with them?
Well, as a younger boy especially, right after we moved there was both a young man and a young woman that lived right down the street from me who I was good friends with. Her father worked at several different big car dealerships there, so they always had new cars we got to play with, and, around and ride in. But the other young boy was probably my best friend through most everything for many, many years.
And what are the naughty things that you did as a child?
Naughty things? I think probably the naughtiest thing I did, and this was actually even before we went to Amarillo. I was only like 4 years old, but we lived in Birmingham, Alabama, and we lived up on the mountain. And basically, the garages were in the back, and we were on the mountain, so it sloped down. And I used to always watch my mother pull the car up and put the parking brake on. Well, one day when she wasn't in the car, I got in the car and released the parking brake. And as the car bounced down the hill between a couple of houses,
A couple of houses?
A couple of houses. It ended up bouncing between two houses, on down the hill. Luckily, there was nobody out there. Nobody was hurt, because I wasn't in the car. But everybody was. I jumped out.
That was a wise thing.
Yeah. And so, my mother was pretty frantic, because I was nowhere to be found, because obviously I took off and hid. And but nobody was hurt, and not a lot of damage was really done, except for the people's fence behind us was gone.
Good. Anyway, and Marcia, what are the naughty things you did?
I wasn't really a bad girl, believe it or not. My mother really kept her girls in line. The only thing I can think of as probably a second grader, I remember waiting for my mother to come pick us up, and we'd always been told, don't be running up and down, don't be running up and down, somebody's going to get hurt. Well, sure enough, the friend that was with me decided to run faster than I could, and she ran into a door, and I was so scared. I didn't know what to do, and I thought, my mother's going to be so upset with me because I was told not to run, and I know not to run, but I did it anyway. Well, but the girl was fine. She just had a little cut on her head, and we all survived.
Thank God, yeah. But that is all childhood is all about. It's about doing naughty things and not repenting for it.
That's right.
All right, Richard, tell us something about your school life. Which school did you go to?
You mean as like grade school or high school?
No,
or?
as a child, as a kid, which school did you go to?
Well, I mean, the main school, of course, was high school, and that was Tascosa High School in Amarillo.
Okay. And how was the school life?
It was really great, I thought. You know, much better really than college. You know, it was easier times. I was in the band. I had a girlfriend.
Okay.
And it's really school life. High school was easy for me. Didn't have any big problems. I kind of seemed to be able to track between the big bullies and everybody else and the smart people. I could kind of interact and make my way through. So.
Yeah. And so one interesting thing about Richard is that Richard was also in a band. So tell us something about the experience in the band.
Well, I was in the regular concert marching band, and again, it's like a big club.
Okay.
And actually, I was a part of the band, what they called the loading crew. We were in charge of getting the band to different locations and getting all the instruments and keep everybody in order and keep it going. So a little bit of responsibility too.
Okay. But do you think the people kids of our generation, do they take interest in bands and things like that, or are they different? You've seen young people grow up.
You mean today?
Yeah.
Oh, I think so.
Okay.
Actually, in fact, especially a young man that worked with both Marcia and I, he was really big into what they call drunk horror.
Okay.
And of course, he was also a fine arts major later on in musical things. So, I think the young people still very much, like the band and things that go along with that.
Yeah. Marcia, now you have always been a very good girl, not doing naughty things and all. How was your school life?
Well, 1st through 8th grade was wonderful. We didn't have what they called middle school. We went 1st through 8th grade, and it was just fantastic. I enjoyed my teachers. I was in the band and choir and orchestra, and then we needed to move. So that was hard, and I had to go to a totally different high school, which
you did not like.
Oh, I didn't like high school at all. And it wasn't the work, it was just a different environment. It wasn't the high school I thought I was going to, and even though I participated in choir, and I had my piano. I had piano from the age of 6 through 18. Okay. So I was always focused on piano and church.
Okay. But how difficult was it from going to middle school to high school?
I didn't have a problem transitioning. It was more of just being in a different high school than I thought I was going to be in. So I'm the kind of person that can get along with almost anybody, so it was easy enough to make friends. It wasn't hard.
So one day, the first day you went to school, when there girls looking at you and trying to bully you or something?
Believe it or not, I was never picked on, and I don't know what that was, even though I was different because I wasn't a part of any of the little cliques, because all the feeder schools have cliques that go to high school. I never had that problem. I just made the friends that I could.
So you had a very smooth and wonderful school life.
Oh yes.
Was there any funny incident in school that you want to narrate with us?
That I can think of? There probably is, but off the top of my head, nothing really comes to mind. The only thing, I did think of something I did that my mother didn't like, because I wanted to wear this ring she had, and it wasn't funny when I took it and then I lost it.
Oh.
And I said, "Oh, Mother, I'm so sorry." And I didn't realize I'd even lost it. I searched everywhere. I walked back and forth from the school. I didn't live far from school, so I walked to school every day.
The road and looking each and every place.
Every place, and boy, did I learn my lesson. Never take something. And it was so strange for me to take it, but I learned.
Yeah. Life teaches you so many things.
It sure does.
And it's a wonderful experience, yeah. And did you do your homeworks in time?
Oh yes, because the ritual was come home, practice my piano, help my mother do whatever needed to be ready for dinner time and homework.
Oh, yeah. Very disciplined.
Very disciplined,
and
yes.
And I want to tell my listeners that even today, Marcia and Richard are very disciplined people, and that's why they get to do so many things. You go for hiking, biking, and so many things, and that's the only reason is that you're so disciplined about life.
That's correct.
All right. And don't you think that the young generation of today must be more disciplined than they actually are?
I think they need to be. I see my friends' children, and some parents give them discipline and tell them, these are their expectations, and other parents just really don't care about it. My parents always set goals for us and had expectations. Sometimes they were high, but I always felt like I was trying to do better for myself.
Right.
We were never punished,
Okay.
even if the grade wasn't, 100. You were still told you did your best.
Yeah. Exactly. You had wonderful parents.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Now, Richard, tell me something about your decision to come to UT, and how difficult was it from high school to getting into UT?
Well, I didn't make the jump directly from high school. I actually there was a place called Amarillo Junior College, which was accredited to come on to the UT. So, at that time we didn't have a lot of money, so I opted to stay at home and spend my first 2 years at junior college, which I got my first 2 years. I didn't have to take all the, crazy courses, that you don't like to take it. But basically, you can get on down into your major, so that wasn't quite so hard. The reason I came to UT more so was basically my brother had come to UT and graduated, so.
So you followed his footsteps.
Yes.
Was he an inspiration for you?
I think so in that way. I mean, he graduated, he was an electrical engineer, and he got a very good job with Bell Labs, and went on. So that was definitely an inspiration to come down and try to do well.
Wonderful. Now, Marcia, you went to the Texas Tech at Lubbock.
Yes.
And how was that experience? First college life.
It was absolutely fantastic. My sister had gone there before me, so she was a graduate student by the time I got there. I lived in a small dorm, and everybody was friendly. I got to meet more people from small rural towns, because that's what surrounds Lubbock.
Exactly.
And it was a great time. There was great food in the dorm. Somebody cleaned after you, except your own room. It was the campus was huge. I had come to see UT, and I decided I didn't fit in with UT, so I'm glad I went to Texas Tech. It was a better fit for me.
How different was Lubbock from El Paso?
Totally different, because Lubbock really was a much smaller town. Same climate, because it's dry, but smaller, and it was more church oriented there than really in El Paso. It's just that because it was the Bible Belt, so to speak, and that's why you saw more people. Almost everybody in my dorm went to church on Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah, and like Amarillo too. I mean, Lubbock's close to Amarillo. It's a rural area,
right,
where El Paso is a
rural.
little more cosmopolitan.
So in that ways, like the religion got them together. People were very religious in the church and the whole thing.
Oh yes.
And what influence did it have in your lives?
Going to college?
Going to college and church and everything.
Well, church in high school, growing up, was a big part of my social life too. So by the time I got to college, I didn't really go to church for social activities. It was more of learning about other religions, actually. I'm a Protestant, but there were other Protestant faiths that I hadn't experienced, so I got to meet people, and of course people from foreign countries.
Exactly.
That was really exciting. I mean, my sister as a graduate student always introduced me to all the different foreign students, and they were beautiful people, they were happy people. It was quite an experience. The 4 years were fantastic.
And huge exposure also.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
Getting
mean,
to do so many things.
Oh yes.
But Richard and Marcia, the biggest highlight of your life was when both of you met, and then the rest is history. What happened? How did you meet?
Well, I started working in July 9th, 1986. I came into a new job working for what's now called Information Technology Services.
ITS.
Right, ITS. And it was Computation Center then.
Okay.
And Richard was the first person I met. And 3 weeks later, we started dating.
Then a year later, we got married.
Almost a year.
Yeah.
So it's like a dream for a girl that like she meets the man of her life in the very first job.
Yes.
So isn't it exciting?
Yes, it was exciting. It was almost unbelievable that I could find somebody that fit with me so well.
So how was the first meeting? What did you talk? I mean, it was just a hi or hello or something?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, it was just an introduction by another staff member, and I remember how nice he was, and he smiled at me, and I was nervous. I was very nervous, for many reasons, and he just made me feel good. And even during those first 3 weeks, he always came and he told me if I needed anything, he'd be glad to help me. and he's been that way all my life. He's always been there for me.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking to Marcia and Robert about their wonderful life and the wonderful journey they had. Please don't go away, stay tuned, we'll be back in a very short time. In conversation with Richard and Marcia about their wonderful life in Austin, Texas. So tell us something about about how you dated each other. How was the dating?
First we were kind of, I think, nervous.
I was nervous, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think Richard was more nervous.
I really wasn't dating a lot, and we got married much later in life, really. I mean, I was 37, Marcia was 32.
Okay.
And Marcia came down one time and said, you know, would you like to do something? Well, that time I was doing a lot of running, and I kind of came along and said, well, I'm busy, I can't do this right now. So I kind of turned her down the first time. But then I immediately kind of came back and said, well, you know, why don't you come over to my house and we'll do something here this day. And that's kind of how it started.
But do you think that the system of dating has changed completely now? I mean, how was dating those days?
Oh yes, because I wasn't the type to go out to clubs or any kind of parties.
Yes.
I you know, if somebody introduced me to somebody, I mean, that's how I met most of the people that I even dated. It was because somebody else introduced me. And now my friends that are my age are using eHarmony and Match.com, and I don't even understand how
Facebook.
to do that. Facebook, all that. I don't think I could put out that much information to somebody.
Yeah. Whatever happened was very spontaneous and natural.
Yes.
And that is the best thing that can ever happen to a person.
That's right.
Yes.
And I'm just very happy that these wonderful things happen to you.
Oh,
And God bless you so much. Okay, now both of you have seen Austin and the University of Texas for around 30 years. So has Texas changed over the days? I mean, University of Texas changed over the days?
Oh, I mean, Austin and
yes.
UT.
Okay.
I mean, when I first came to Austin in 1970, this was a town of 150,000 people.
Okay.
Back over on Interstate 35 at Airport Boulevard,
Okay.
there were crossing gates for the railroad there. There was no bridge, there was no upper deck. You stopped for the train on the interstate.
Okay. So complete change.
Complete change. Of course, UT, much smaller. I mean, it really was almost kind of the original 40 acres
Oh,
back
really?
in
Yeah,
1970.
yeah.
It was just starting. Where the stadium is to the east of the stadium, they had just started tearing all those houses down for urban renewal at that point to start building other things there.
Okay.
But even for years and years, there was still a motel right across from the stadium called the Villa Capri. Was there. So.
Now, both of you have seen a lot of life, and you have also seen a lot of changes in life, and one of them is like fashion. I can see you're quite fashionable. The kind of dresses you wear, that's amazing. But how has fashion changed over the days?
Well, I'm not wearing leisure suits anymore.
Yeah, there's no leisure suits, no polyester.
Yeah. People are more
no.
conscious. Do you think people are more conscious about what to wear and what not to wear?
Well, being here in Austin, you can almost wear anything and nobody's going to say anything. I mean, you can wear cowboy boots to a
Jogging.
You know, yes,
Or to a fancy restaurant.
or to a fancy restaurant, and nobody's going to care. Where you go to Dallas Fort Worth area, somebody might notice what you're wearing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I think it's.
I don't think there's any restaurant, or maybe there is, I'm sure, but that you'd walk into in Austin and they'd say, I want coat and tie.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
Okay.
But, like I said, you go to Dallas or Houston, and most certainly you're going to run
That's a
into some
difference.
places that if you're not dressed, they're not letting you in.
Really?
Oh, yes.
That's great. And what were the things that you really liked wearing in your childhood and which are not there? The other day we were discussing the fashion changes.
The skirts and the skirts and the what people called culottes, and it's just interesting that, you know, people that are 20 years younger than I am still had a term that they used for describing what they were wearing, and I had a different term for it, and it was strange. It was just like, wow, who would have thought that we would use the same word for two different kinds of garments?
Exactly. But Richard and Marcia, both of you are very actively involved in volunteering activities. So tell us something about your volunteering activities.
Well, believe it or not, we're still doing things for the University of Texas at Austin.
Can't get away from UT.
We can't get away from UT. The Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center,
Okay.
and then the Blanton Museum.
Okay. Wow.
So
Wonderful.
we enjoy museums, and we decided that Blanton would be a nice fit for us. And then Lady Bird Johnson, of course, has always had a special place in our heart. And we don't live very far from the Wildflower Center, so we spend as much time as we can give them, and it's just a beautiful place and a wonderful research center.
Marcia and Richard, it had been wonderful talking to you, but to make things all the more wonderful for our listeners, we have a interesting segment called Fast Track on the Memory Lane, and in this section I ask you some rapid fire questions and you have to answer them really quickly. So are you ready for it? Richard first.
Let's go.
Jet, set, go. Okay, Richard, who was your best friend in school?
Kelly.
What was your biggest fear as a kid?
Book reports.
What was your favorite sports?
Football.
American football.
Yes.
Okay. Who was your favorite actor?
Oh boy. I can't even remember back at that time, honestly, quickly.
John Wayne?
John Wayne, definitely, yes. Probably so.
Okay. What was your favorite color?
Red.
Not green?
Not green. I'm wearing green today, but not green.
Okay. So you can look at red.
Right.
That's funny.
Okay. The naughtiest thing that you ever done
Oh boy.
is the same thing that you told about?
Well, that's probably one of the worst ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
And your favorite food?
Pizza.
Still is?
Still love pizza.
Oh, great. Okay. And your most treasured toy?
I don't know that I have a big treasured toy, necessarily. I can't think of anything that I've even kept all these years, necessarily. Can you think of something I have?
Nope.
No.
Very well done, Richard.
Your piggy bank?
My piggy bank, yeah.
Now, Marcia, your favorite cartoon character?
Snoopy.
Snoopy.
Oh.
Your favorite dessert?
Well, the El Paso.
Okay. And your favorite
dessert.
Dessert.
Oh, dessert.
Dessert.
Chocolate cake.
You're still crazy about it.
Yes, I love chocolate cake.
And your favorite movie?
An Affair to Remember.
Okay. The teacher you really were scared of?
Mrs. Everett, the geometry teacher.
And your idol as a child?
My mother.
And the naughtiest thing that you ever done?
Taking that ring when I wasn't supposed to.
Okay. The best gift that Santa ever gave you?
My Barbie doll.
Barbie doll. And your best song?
Memories from the show Cats.
Can you sing it for us?
No. I wish I could.
Okay, Marcia and Richard, it was wonderful talking to you, and
Same
wonderful,
here.
wonderful being with you. And Richard, you said that you don't have a treasured toy. That was that you don't have a treasured toy.
I really can't think of anything like
Okay,
that. I know
but
material things are not, that
Okay.
big a deal.
And since it's slow and steady wins the race, you have been together, and it has been a slow journey but a wonderful experience. I have a little toy for both of you.
Oh,
This is for both of you, and this is on behalf of Nostalgic with Sadiq, and I wish you all the best. I wish you all the best for the wonderful things that you're doing in life, and many more wonderful years to come. Wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
so much for coming to my
Thank
show.
you for having
We had a
me.
great
Thank you,
time.
thank you.